So the rule X counts as Y and C functions quite differently for extra-linguistic institutions such as games than it does for language. In language, the meaning of the sentence, snow is white, already is enough to encode the rule. That meaning determines that anybody who utters that sentence will have performed a speech act that counts as making the statement that snow is white. But when we create powers in games, such and such a person is the goalie, such and such a case of kicking the ball counts as scoring a goal, we have a set of powers that go beyond meaning. Okay, so it seems to me now what I've got, I mean now where I am in my, all of this, by the way, was implicit in the theory of speech acts. I didn't have the sense to see it when I wrote that book, but people often ask me, well, did you know you were going to write all those other books when you wrote speech acts? No, I didn't, but now I see, I should have seen it. I should have seen, of course, all of this is implicit in the theory of speech acts, that you create these realities by representing them as existence, and that's just an extension of Austin's idea of the performative. But once you see that, once you see that we create deontic powers, once you see that set of equivalences that I gave you, that the institutional facts without exception are status functions, that those status functions create deontic powers, that those deontic powers are peculiar to human language-using animals, that is, they are rights, duties, obligations, permissions, authorizations, etc. Once you see that, and you see that they create desire-independent reasons for action, then you see that human social reality has a structure which is linguistically created and linguistically constituted. Now, I haven't had time to develop this idea, but it seems to me it's maintained in its existence. Human institutional reality is maintained in its existence by the continued use of representations, by the continued use of representations that continue to reinforce the status function, by the continued representation of the existence of the status function. And this opens up into a whole lot of other areas of investigation. There is a big debate, or there's a constant debate about human rights. It seems to me human rights are obviously a case of status function. I have a right to free speech, but I don't have it the way I have a nose. It's not a brute fact. It's an institutional fact that is created by counting me as a certain type of being entitled to rights. And now there's a movement for animal rights. Should we extend the same set of status function to animals? It seems to me this is the distinction, for example, between political power and brute force. Political power always is a case of a status function, and for that reason requires collective acceptance. It requires collective acceptance of the institutional facts that constitute the status function. Okay, so what I've tried to do then is suggest that language, but a certain specific type of logical structure of language, is used over and over. The status function declaration is used over and over to create the distinctive features of human society, the distinctive features of human civilization, by which, as far as I know, we are different from animals. Now, incidentally, when I say we're different from animals, I'm not trying to make a plea for the superiority of our species. I'm just trying to identify certain special facts. If it turns out that primates also have government and income tax and divorce and summer vacations, well, welcome to the club. Okay, I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm trying to identify certain distinctive features of human civilization. And what I've got to the point is now where it seems that the basic notion is not the notion just of the institutional fact, but is the notion of the status function as creating an almost magical kind of power. A power that exists because human beings recognize it and act on it, and it's always created by repeated applications of the same type of speech act. Thank you very much. Okay, I tried to save time for questions, so let's start with this guy over here. Yeah. You're going to get a mic. They want you to
Oh yeah, Mike. That's my name, by the way.
Oh,
So,
right. Yeah. Okay.
an avatar. That's better. An avatar recently stole a spear in virtual reality. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the person behind the avatar, I understand, made real money in the real world. Mm-hmm. The person B, who was the victim, was angry. And that person then went and murdered in the real world the person behind the avatar.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is in America. That person is now serving time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, status, function, declarations, it's working at 2 levels.
Well, okay, you can have fantasy declarations, fictional cases of declarations, which then people treat as if they were real. And I'm not sure what the long-term effect of this is going to be. There was a case down in Silicon Valley where they were selling virtual hats for some thing that you could get, but they ran out of virtual hats. And so they had to sell real hats. And one child who got the real hat was very sad that he didn't get the real thing, which was a virtual hat. Now, it may well be that we're creating a generation of people who prefer virtual reality to real reality. I'll be sorry to see it myself, but there are certain advantages to virtual reality. Yeah, you're next.
Yeah, I would like to, I think I can do without me. Okay.
I think they want to record this, yeah. So they want you to speak in that.
Okay. This puts extra pressure on the question. I would like to return for a moment to your directions of fit. That always pose a lot of difficulty to my students. And the uniqueness of declarations. Your postulate for the uniqueness of declarations is essentially that they have 2 directions of fit.
Simultaneous,
but is it,
yes.
Okay, which I read more or less that they at the same time compel events in the world and they reflect events in the world. I mean, they fit in with the existing reality. Now, isn't it the case that declarations are unique in the sense that they have those 2 directions of fit simultaneously at the same level of directness? And this is really unique, because otherwise you could say that any other class of speech acts could have potentially 2 directions of fit. You could have, for instance, an utterance, barefoot student leaves the room, which is a directive at the surface level, at the direct level. But at, you know, at the deeper level, it could be, there could be an assertion embedded. You could say, what a wonderful dress, and on the surface, you got expressive, okay? But then, if this person keeps wearing the dress, then actually the force of directive is assumed, okay? So what is really unique about declarations is that they have those 2 directions of fit at exactly the same level of directness. Is that how you see it?